What does it mean that only a Jew has bechirah chofshis?
There's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misunderstanding about that statement. And one of the places which, so to speak, sets it straight to some extent is the Sikha in Chelekei Lech Lecha, which everybody avoids because it's so obscure and nerve-wracking. I'm not going to start debating what it means a Yid has bechirah chofshis and a Goy doesn't have bechirah chofshis and where bechirah chofshis comes from. I'm going to tell you something very simple. The fundamental thing you need to understand about free will is that free will is not permitted. It's empowered. Free will doesn't mean Hashem gets out of your way and lets you be free. There's no such concept. Just like a man who designed a machine. The machine will never do anything that wasn't in the man's design. It's impossible. If a machine was designed by a man and it cannot exceed the planning and the vision of the man, that machine has no free will. The choices about that machine were made by its maker. The same is true when it comes to Hashem. Hashem created everything. And He created everything with a particular design. There's no freedom in that at all. There's no freedom in that at all. That means, however God wanted you to be existed, to be created, that's how you're going to be created, that's going to be your nature, that's going to be your form, that's going to be your function, that's going to be expression. There's no freedom in anything. You are as God wanted you to be. That's not free. That's contained. That's according to the divine plan, period. Free will is not Hashem lets you do whatever you want. That's a very foolish idea. I don't even want to call it secular. It's foolish. It's nuttish. Everybody understands that if somebody created you, you are as your creator wanted you to be. And if you are as your creator wanted you to be, He made decisions for how you're going to be, not you. Free will is a very different concept. Free will is given. It's an empowerment. The Eibishter created you in a particular form, and He gave you the koyach to break it. That's free will. The koyach to exceed it, to go past it, or to express something which is not based on your design, but based on you. So the philosophy of free will is flawed at its core. The very word free is a misnomer. Because the word free is like getting out of jail in Monopoly. You understand? No one's telling me what to do. I can do whatever I want. Freedom is slavery the way it's understood in the world. Freedom is not I can do what I want. Freedom means He's given me the power I shall do what I want. Which means that in order for a person to have free will, you have to have within you God. Because only God is free. Because God was not created. He has no designer. And therefore He has no containment. Nobody made Him, so nobody made Him in a particular way. And since nobody made Him in a particular way, He doesn't have to conform to any rules and laws. Anything He created as He wished, using His own wisdom and His own will, or whatever the case may be. So everything is contained by the intent and the design that the Eibishter gave it. Unless Hashem puts in you a piece of Him. So a human being is very limited. He's in a body, he can't fly, he's stuck in time, and to a great extent he's stuck in space, and so forth and so on. The concept of free will doesn't mean I can do whatever I want. The concept of free will means God gave you a piece of Him. And as He is free, because He has no containment, because nobody created Him, the freedom within a person is because Hashem places within you the capacity to do certain things, not based on how He created you, but based on the fact that He is inside of you. In other words, free will is the ultimate dichotomy, it's the ultimate conundrum, the ultimate contradiction. Because the only way to have free will is if God gives you a piece of Himself. No, if the Eibush gave you a piece of Himself so that you were Him. And that's the subtlety, that's the challenge of understanding free will. Hashem, so to speak, and I'm going to use very coarse language, broke off a piece of Himself and gave it to you. And now the piece of His freedom which He gave to you is yours and not His. And that's why you're free. So the mysticism, the philosophy of free will is not allowed. Free will has to be empowered. And then the Rebbe says that this idea that the Eibishter created us, And by the virtue of the fact that Rabbi created us, nothing is free. Nobody is free. Everybody is contained by the designer's design for them. And they can only be within that parameter. And human beings, Yidden Lahavda, were given freedom. Says the Rebbe, that freedom was given only when it comes to Torah and mitzvahs. Period. The freedom, free will by a Jew is not free will to do anything I want. If you choose a red car over a green car, it's your personality. That's not free will. If you chose sushi over pizza, it's your personality. It's not free will. It's not freedom. It's part of the programming the Eibush to put into you. He knows before you choose what you're going to choose because it's your nature. The only place where the free will exists, the only place where the God peace within you expresses itself, and therefore when you choose to do a mitzvah, or Rahman al-San, you choose to do an Aveda, it's coming from your place of freedom, your place of God within you, rather than the definition and the form that He gave you as when it comes to Torah mitzvahs. And the Rebbe has a Chiddush Nifla in the Basi Legane Tafshin Yud Gimel, that when it comes to the Sheva mitzvahs, B'nai Noach, a Goy has the same freedom. Just like a Jew was given the godly power for freedom when it comes to Tayag mitzvahs. And the free will extends only to the Tayag mitzvahs. A Jew doesn't have a choice if he's going to be a lawyer or a doctor or a schnutter or unemployed, because it's not Torah mitzvahs. It only extends to Yonim Pnimiyim, like it says in that Sikh in Chelik Hey. Lahav Lagoy has the same free will when it comes to his 7 mitzvahs Nenech. So when you say a Jew has free will and a non-Jew doesn't have free will, both of those things have to be qualified. A Jew doesn't have free will. He has free will when it comes to fulfilling the commandments the Eibush gave. And when you say a non-Jew doesn't have free will, it means a non-Jew doesn't have free will as it relates to the Jews' Torah and mitzvahs. Which means if a Goy tries to stop you from doing a mitzvah, that's not his choice. Because when a Goy is trying to stop you from doing a mitzvah, that's not part of his mitzvahs. So that, we say, is part of the way the Eibush programmed them. It's called Hashgacha Pratit. Like it says in the Kedesh Chaf near the end. Now the Rebbe brings that the Eibush is mislabish and the Goy to stop you from doing a mitzvah. And the Goy doesn't have free will when it comes to stopping you from doing a mitzvah. So the only thing you could say is Avaya Amalek Halel. The Eibush did invest himself in this Goy. The Eibush did is stopping you from the mitzvah, not the Goy, because it's not one of the Goy's 7 mitzvahs Nenech. So when a Goy is dealing with his Sheva mitzvahs Nenayach, which means not to murder, not to worship idols, not to steal, not to kill, not to be immoral, not to be cruel to animals, and to set up a court system, to live like a human being. When it comes to those Sheva mitzvahs, he has free will. Because those are the mitzvahs that the Eibush gave him. When you say a Goy doesn't have bechirah chofshis, you mean a Goy doesn't have bechirah chofshis when he's relating to the bechirah chofshis of a Yid. Now, this is not the whole story. It is a little bit more complicated than this. In other words, I do believe that there's a difference, and the truth is I'm not even sure, but I think there's a difference between the bechirah of a Yid and his mitzvahs versus the bechirah of a Goy and his mitzvahs. But what I told you is true. And it's so misunderstood and it's so simplified. Not because the material is not available, but because when it comes to free will, we're so enslaved. The minute people start talking about free will, they lose their heads. I've witnessed this over and over again. Anytime you engage in a conversation with somebody about free will, everybody is sure they have it all figured out. No one even listens. And I hope this is helpful.